Do you want to learn how to make videos or movies? That sounds good, because me too. I'm learning how to create videos for YouTube and other social media, and I want you to join me in this adventure where I share with you everything I learned. Today we will talk about cameras. So this video is part of a series that you will find here or here. I never understand how it flips, but the playlist will be containing all the videos that I will make about the subject. This is the second video. The first video we talked about all the gear you should know about, and today we'll dive into the first item, which is the cameras and what you want to learn about them. Cameras come in multiple forms, sizes and prices and features, and they are different. There are a lot of cameras, but we will see the main kind of cameras and what you should know about them and how to choose the right one for you. I will start with the first kind of camera that technically everybody should have. It's your phone's camera. This is the Google Pixel 6. As you can see, it has a camera array in here. It has 1 and 2 cameras, and it has a flashlight. These two cameras, one is a wide camera and the other one is an ultra-wide camera. This is what you would find on almost all the modern phones. Sometimes you will have 3 cameras or 4 cameras or just 1 camera. The important thing is to know what each camera can do. This is an iPhone 13. It also has 2 cameras. As you can see here, there is your first camera here, which is also a wide, as the Pixel 6, and the second one, which is an ultra-wide, just like the Pixel 6. And it also has a flashlight. In both the Google Pixel 6 Pro and the iPhone 13 Pro and Pro Max, you will get a third camera, and it's the same kind of camera. It is a telephoto camera. The other 2 cameras are the same as the 2 phones I just showed you. So, the kind of cameras you will find on phones are generally telephoto. Telephoto are like zoom cameras. You will have wide cameras, as the name suggests, it takes a wide image, just as the lens on this camera, which is a wide, and you will have also ultra wide, just like we said, just like this camera, which is an ultra wide. This is a telephoto camera, and you will have sometimes a macro camera, which is cameras that you can really put in front of the subject in order to take a very close look into the subject for plants or insects or anything that you would need in order to have your camera very near the subject you will take a picture of or film. You will have also sometimes black and white cameras, and sometimes you will also have sensors just like the LiDAR on the iPhone 13 Pro and some iPads, which is just something that will scan in 3D the subject in order to have more depth information. There are also different specialized lenses, but we will talk about them in the next episode where we talk about only lenses. The phone you have on you is the best device in order to start making movies. You already have it, and it has different lenses, and it's really easy in order to adapt and shoot with. You don't have to take into consideration a lot of details. But if you want to step up the quality, the problem with all the mobile phones is that they have very tiny sensors behind the lenses on the cameras. And the tiniest the sensor, the less light it can catch. It's just physics. This is one of the reasons why professional photographers and filmmakers use big cameras with big sensors. Big sensors equal more light, so better image. But what about megapixels? I'm seeing a lot of cameras with 10 megapixels, 50 megapixels, 100 megapixels. The thing is, the size of the sensor doesn't change. It's just that they are cramming smaller and smaller pixels on the camera. So each of these pixels will take less light, so the image will not really change. This is why on the iPhones they are still using 12 megapixels and have one of the best images on the market. This is why when you hear about these cameras with 100 plus megapixels, just like the Galaxy S22, the Xiaomi Mi 11 and the Realme 8 Pro, for example, all these phones have cameras, and except for the Samsung that has very good camera quality because the processing behind it is very good and efficient, they have the same quality as the 12 megapixel from the iPhone. And this is not due to like the iPhone is making magic. No, it's just like 12 megapixels is the size of the pixels that is really good for this kind of sensor that is tiny. If you want more megapixels, you will need to make the camera really larger, just like you are seeing on some phones. Just like the Sony Xperia something and the Xiaomi S12 and the perhaps future Galaxy S23, I guess, will have bigger sensors on these cameras, and this should be interesting to see. But if you don't want to wait for these cameras on these phones and you want a little bit more options for your camera, you can go to the reflex cameras or the pocket cameras, which are like these. This is what we call a point and shoot camera. There are a lot of models, and I will talk to you about some of them which are very good. The first camera I will talk about in these pocket or point and shoot cameras are this one. The ZV-1 is one of the most popular because it has a 4K capability, it has a zoom lens which is attached to it, and it has a lot of options and a 1-inch sensor. The second one would be the Canon PowerShot ELPH 190IS. Yeah, nice name. It's also the same kind of camera with the same, almost same capabilities, it just doesn't have the flip screen. So you can't see yourself while you're shooting. You have also the Panasonic's LX100 and the Canon G1X Mark III and some other models which are almost all the same with a zoom lens attached to them, and they have also a 1-inch sensor which is giving very good quality compared to what you have on your phone. The main difference between these cameras and your phone's camera is that these are dedicated cameras for shooting videos or photos, and you can shoot them in different modes. You can go into manual and learn more about how to have the best image in different kinds of situations. For example, for the autofocus, for the ISO, for the aperture, for the shutter speed, etc. These are all things that if you learn about them, you can get very good images. I don't really master all of them. I understand the concept, but I'm not really good right now. This is why on my videos, sometimes you will have different kinds of lighting and different kinds of image quality when I change cameras from this one to this one to this one. Hello! And this is just because these cameras, I'm trying to fine-tune the settings, but I'm not that good at it yet because I didn't dive into it enough right now. After the point and shoot, we go to the hybrids. They are hybrid between a point and shoot and a DSLR. We'll talk about this one in a moment. So these are just like the point and shoots, but you can change the lens. And one of the most known cameras, for me at least, is right now the Sony EZV-10. It's the exact same camera as the Sony ZV-1, and it has the same capabilities, plus a better mic and interchangeable lenses. The sensor is bigger. This one is an APS-C, just like the cameras that I'm using. This one is an APS-C, this one is an APS-C, this one is an APS-C. An APS-C sensor is, I will talk about them in the sensor section just after. So this sensor is bigger than the 1-inch sensor, and it has a better image quality. You can mount on it a lot of different lenses in order to get the most of your image and not be stuck with one zoom lens that is not changeable, so the range of image you can have is always the same. It's nice to change between an ultra-wide, a telephoto, and a wide one, or even a macro lens or anything else that you fancy and that is compatible with yours. So with these lenses, you can now have more capabilities. It has also a flip-out screen, which is nice to have when you are vlogging. Right now, I'm watching myself on this camera with a screen here, and I have a screen just here also. It is very helpful when you are creating content and making movies by yourself, just like I'm doing right now. The next kind of camera that we'll talk about is the DSLRs. And right now I have 3 of them. This one, and this one. And I will unmount this one to talk about it and show it to you on this camera. This is the Canon 750D. It's the first camera I bought, and it has an APS-C sensor inside. It's a DSLR camera, which means that behind this lens we have a mirror. So the light enters here, it will go to the sensor, and the mirror will also send the image up, where there is a second mirror that will send the image into the viewfinder, which is here, so that you can see what you are shooting. It has also a flip-out screen, so it's on. You will see now that it is working, and I can flip it, and you can see part of me. Hello! Camera reception. It has this wheel with a lot of modes that you can use. I'm right now putting it on manual, which is where you can set up all the parameters for your camera. It has also a lot of buttons. I will not go into details because it's not the focus of this video. It has also buttons on this side, here also. It has a mount here where I will put this thing on in order to put it on the tripod. Here you can put your battery, and here you will put your SD card. It has ports here and here for the microphone and the DC, and here for the AV out if you want to plug it to a screen. I put the doodly-doo on it, and now I will put it back on the tripod to continue filming with it. Here, the camera is back on its tripod and we can resume the shooting. But back to the cameras. These are DSLR cameras with APS-C sensors. There are also DSLR cameras with full-frame sensors, just like the Canon D5. You are seeing it right now on the image. This is one of the most popular cameras that ever been used. And right now, most YouTubers and content creators on the web are using mostly Sony cameras, which are like the Sony a7S III and the Canon R5 or the R6. All these cameras are mirrorless cameras, except for the D5. It's an old camera, it's a DSLR. But the new cameras is the new category. Mirrorless cameras are exactly the same as DSLRs, except they don't have the mirror, hence the name, mirrorless. So once you remove the first mirror and the second mirror, you have more space inside, so the camera will be more compact. And they have also, I showed you the viewfinder on this camera. They don't have the viewfinder since you are not sending light. They have an electronic viewfinder, or an EVF, which is just like the screen I'm watching myself on and the flip out screen. It's a small tiny screen that is where the viewfinder should be, and you have an image that is generated electronically. Before, in the first days of mirrorless, these viewfinders, these EVFs were very bad and the image was not that good, so photographers and filmmakers didn't really like them. These days you cannot make the difference between an electronic viewfinder and an optical viewfinder, since the image quality is so good, and you can also have more information on the EVF, have your video diagrams, and have a lot of information that you can use, and you can have more details on what you are shooting, like light and sound, and a lot of details that you can add into the EVF. When you go even further in the camera land, you will go into cinema cameras. These are specialized cameras for cinema, just like the Canon C series or the FX from Sony or other brands, just like Blackmagic, Red, and even more advanced, you will have the Hollywood kind of camera for big movies, just like the Array. You will also find some Blackmagic and some Red cameras, but you have also Panasonic, I think. I don't remember exactly, but I will check myself and it will be on the screen somewhere. So these are the different kinds of cameras, and you can guess that the price is ranging from very cheap to extremely expensive when you go to Hollywood type cameras. So what you should know in order to choose your camera is, first, what is your budget? Because you won't go buying $100,000 camera in order to make your YouTube movies. So now that you know about all the kind of cameras that exist, what should you take into consideration before choosing your camera? I chose this kind of camera, which is a DSLR camera, but with an APS-C sensor. Why? Because it's cheaper. The lenses are cheaper too. The whole studio here is cheaper than the body of the Sony a7S III. So I bought 3 cameras, 3 lenses, 3 lights, I don't know, 5, 6 or 7 microphones or something like that. I soundproof the studio, I put panels everywhere in order to take the sound, and I put the carpet on it for cheaper than the Sony a7S III costs. Just the body without a lens, so not usable. So this is why I chose this. You can even go with a point and shoot. I just wanted to go with a mirrorless camera since I had already one, and it was very cheap. Like, I bought one new, it was in 2019, it was the 750D I showed you, and it cost me with the lens, so it was a kit lens, the 18 to 55, $60,000 or 65, which is cheaper than a phone. So I didn't regret it. The only thing you have to buy after that will be a memory card, a tripod, very useful, and some kind of microphone. And you can have all of this for under $70,000, including the camera. You can also buy them used, because these cameras are built to last a very long time. I'm seeing people using the same Canon 5D from like 5, 6, 7 years ago. It's a good investment. If you have the budget to go with a full frame camera, it will be better quality-wise, but it will be much more expensive. The body will be more expensive, the lenses will be more expensive. And you can find alternatives, like take something that is older, don't go for a lot of hyped specs. For example, I didn't go with 4K cameras because I don't use 4K, I don't have the machine to edit 4K. It will be more complicated to manage, and I can buy adapters for lenses and use old lenses for other cameras on my cameras. Sometimes they work well, sometimes not, but they are very cheap. And this is one of the best ways in order to start into photography or filmmaking. And I would really advise to try this route. Next episode, we will talk about lenses and what are the different kinds of lenses, what do you need to know about lenses before buying them, and how to choose the ones for you. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave it a like and tell me in the comments what questions you have or what do you want me to show you in the next episodes. And see you later. Bye.